most, uh, again, I think most planters kind of think people are going to fall in love with their vision, and it won't take long, to support it, and they'll be off. They'll just be going, and it really doesn't work that way. I mean, I just was looking at statistic today, and statistics are hard to determine whether they're good or not good statistics. I don't know, but the typical church, and I think I read this. On a reliable website, but the first year, the typical church plant is at 54 people after 1 year.
Is this
And
New
then
England?
no, that's just in general.
In,
So
or
New
in the
England's going
U.S.?
to probably be less.
Oh,
That's
far
just
less.
U.S. Yes.
That's a need to write that down. That's a conversation too.
And so you have 54 your first year. You have, I think by year 4, you're typically at around 84, 85 people. So the growth is typically slow. And so 84 people at year 4 is not going to pay salary, benefits, insurance. You can't expect that. And to have the church be solely focused on paying a full-time person's salary and supporting their family and their insurance quickly like that
It's
is
tough.
it. I think it's not only unrealistic, it's going to hurt the church because the money that really has to go for ministry isn't. It's supporting you and it's supporting the planter and his ministry, but it's not actually helping the church do the kinds of things it needs to do
Right.
to really make a difference. And so I think pastors have to come in, planters have to come in thinking, okay, I'm going to work, but best case scenario is not just I'm going to do whatever to pay my bills, but if you're going to spend 8 good hours a day, 5 days a week working, it should be mission.
Yeah,
That
be
should be your
strategic.
mission field as well somehow.
Yes. Yes.
Even if it's not the ideal job, there's opportunities to do that. And sometimes you have to do what you have to do to pay the bills. And that, God calls us to do that. I get that.
Yeah.
But if you can bring those two things together where you're ministering to people in the workplace, that's just going to help in the long run. It's going to help you. It's going to help your ministry because you have opportunities to invite people to church.
Yeah. I totally agree. So I mean, and I think, but why do you why do you think planters automatically default to working just anywhere as opposed to working strategically, right? Be more specific.
Yeah.
Why do you think planters stay away from, quote, office jobs or 9 to 5 jobs that could be more strategic for their plant versus working at the local retail shop? I know one answer could be perceived flexibility,
Mhm.
but is there other insight you have into why they don't consider corporate jobs that could, provide value to the plant?
I think in part, uh, most planters come in thinking whatever I do is going to be temporary. So I don't want to commit myself into something
That's
that
true.
may seem more permanent.
That's true.
So I'll just do whatever I have to because it's only for a short while.
Yeah.
And so then rather than using your gifts, abilities, skills, talents, knowledge, wisdom, all that, and actually making a difference in the community and a business,
Yeah.
you just kind of buy your time over here, wishing you could do something else. And the problem is, you're interacting. We're called to be Christians even as church planters,
That's right.
not just be church planters and then, waste other time hoping to be a church planter. And so wherever we go, just like we're telling people in our chair, and that be a ministry
Right.
as well, and it doesn't even, it wouldn't even have to be connected to the church, but, it should still be us working as though we're working for the Lord.
Well,
You know?
see, so I think that you're right that you move here anywhere where you decide to plant, particularly when you leave your home city or state,
Right.
you move there thinking it's temporary because I'm going to be the next fill in the blank, right?
Yep.
And it's going to, and this is like you said, you hear these stories that are not necessarily based in full on reality for most people, where someone says, we just, you know what, we prayed, we decided to open the church next week, and we didn't know how many people were going to show up, and all of a sudden 500 people showed up.
Mhm.
And God's just blessed us ever since, right? And you hear those stories where it's like, wow, that could be me. There's some
Yeah.
there's some pitfalls in that
Yeah.
in that thinking, and I think we all fall prey to that. But even in a regular business, you can fall prey to that. When I launched my real estate business years ago, it was the same thing. Man, I'm gonna be a real estate
Yeah.
magnet, and yeah, that didn't work out the
Yep.
first time around. Lost the business and got it back. Came back with a vengeance, but it was a different philosophy, right? And even what I know now about the real estate business, it took me a while to learn what I got and to feel solid and secure and master that. And so, implanting is the same concept where it's not going to be an immediate
Right.
hit, especially in New England where it's so expensive. So, how can planters, if they're moving into New England, since this is where we are, what should they be thinking about when it comes to supporting their families, supporting their ministry, strategically finding employment that adds significant value to their plant? How do they start thinking about that as they decide to leave where they are and follow the calling of God to come to New England?
I think, we have to, reality, I think in New England, it's going to be probably much better if you can do planting as a team, where you can build a team that you're working together. So it's not all, because if you're working full time and then you're really working full time in the plant, that's a hard, it's 2 full time jobs plus if you have a family and kids, and it's like 3 full time jobs. And so that's a lot. And so if you come out here thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to build a team that will work with me. I'll lead the team, but I'll be that. And then know full well that you'll end up working outside the church, and it's not a failure. I mean, I think for so many people, because we all think, okay, in 3 years my support will end, if you have typical, support from an organization that's church planting.
Right.
And so you say, well, okay, in 3 years it's going to end. So if I'm not full time in 3 years, then I failed.
That's real too. That
And
fear.
and as you talk to pastors in ministry here, not church planters, but pastors, most of them are full time. So, you have the sense of maybe I'm not going to be taken seriously if I'm part time pastor, part time, working outside the church, because the only time they would probably take a job is if the church was hurting financially and they had to support. So, it's part of it's just a perspective when you come out, thinking about, okay, knowing that you're going to take a job, but that's even if you work for, some guys may just choose to be co-vocational and say that's fine. I'm going to work. I know I'm going to go work on a career outside of the church, but that I see that as a ministry God's called me to and gifted me to do. But I'm going to plant this church. But you're going to have to probably rely on, more people within the church to pick up pieces and to help you, and to work with you, because you could only carry that load so long. We had this conversation the other night. It's like carrying a backpack. How heavy can that how long can you carry a heavy backpack? Only so long. You have to have other people help you carry things.